Hey guys, Robbie's Reviews coming at you, and while I didn't do a pre-review for this movie, we're going to do a post-review, because I think that's kind of where more people are interested in. Anyway, tonight's review is on Sicario, The Road to Soldado, kind of a sequel to 2015's installment, essentially, I guess you'd say drug war on the cartels. Now, the movie's premise was supposed to be that now the cartel are helping sneak in terrorists, which kind of gets things stirring once more to call in a team of specialists to try to put the cartels down again once and for all. Benicio del Toro kind of takes the reins again in hopes of bringing what looks to be kind of an action crime thriller to full light. Now, as we're kind of bringing it in, we're going to do the usual Robbie's movie review format, and that is likes and dislikes. So here we go. What are the likes? Well, the first thing is that this movie is a lot more storytelling than you might expect from the trailers. Primarily in the fact that it is all about trying to expand upon characters and character development. That kind of brings me to my first three likes. First, as you can read in my review that I've already posted online via written review, it's got a darkness to it. What does darkness mean? Well, while I have to kind of be in the mood for darkness / have it curbed so it's not too over the top, the darkness in Sicario 2 was absolutely perfect for expanding upon character development. It works very well in terms of opening up new avenues that many movies won't try to do, and that leads to, again, expansion of characters and levels you may not be expecting, with a few twists and turns that kind of come in. Second thing is the character development rocks, primarily in regards to really expanding upon characters you may or may not have seen in the first movie, as well as the new people who come in. Seeing these new life lessons learned, seeing them evolve into kind of better, well-rounded characters is great. You just got to be ready for knowing kind of the background material. And third is it's got a realism factor to it, which is really good for the series because kind of doing a war on cartel warrants a little realism here and there, if you know what I mean, because that leads to, I guess, a little more better storytelling and less being caught up in kind of the usual movie theatrics. Now, in addition to kind of all those components, the acting is really good. Primarily, my character was Benicio del Toro's character. For one thing, it's because it is a continuation and you get to see his story again evolve based on what happened in the first one. And he's the character that really kind of has the most diving and revenue into it. So the deeper components to it than what I was expecting. The other ones are fine. Josh Brolin is still his usual candor, very monotone, mono-emotion self. But it works given where his role and kind of connecting point is. And as for Isabella Monet, she did a fantastic job kind of playing her role as a drug cartel princess and kind of being put in a situation I don't think any of us really want to be put in. She works very well with these advanced, experienced actors, and I look forward to seeing her in more works. The rest of the crew of secondary support characters that work well, play their roles, kind of take these flat kind of character developments and manage to expand it into something a little better than I was anticipating. So it really works there. And again, in terms of kind of storytelling elements, again, it's got some good components to try to tie in things and bring with it a lot of potential with the movie in regards to some twists, some turns, some surprises, and really trying to connect the first movie to the second, though again there are some characters that didn't quite make it from the first one into the second one. So, don't get too caught up on some of your favorites from the first installment. Now, what about the dislikes? Because we're kind of getting into there. Well, the dislikes is that this is a movie not meant for the typical audience. It requires you to pay attention again and really listen to the dialogue, because it's a very character-heavy, character-centric drama more than it is an action film. You'll be able to get the gist of it, but to really understand where all the little pieces are in this convoluted cartel chess game, you really got to make sure you are listening to the jargon, understanding the military approaches to it, and realizing the kind of soap opera theatrics of who's going to backstab whom, over the course of the 2 hour time period. I guess this brings me to my next dislike is the 2 hour time period feels very slow for me. The pacing's kind of off for this movie, but that may be because I went in expecting it to have a little more kick than it did. In reality, the Sicario 2 is very slow going. You really got to be into kind of the crime thriller theatrics in hopes that it will expand upon it and really bring about more of that character development than an actual true moving on pace. While I guess a good way to compare this is kind of like Game of Thrones versus Lord of the Rings, I was expecting a little more drive focused toward an end goal like Lord of the Rings does, but this is much more about establishing those character relationships. Again, good, but not the most exciting. So watch it when you're warranting to looking into those late night showings. Next up is the fact that because of its convoluted speak, you don't pay attention, you are going to get lost in the movie, primarily in trying to figure out where they're going, who is who, and where the kind of connecting points are. There's a lot of moving pieces in this movie, and while not as symbolic and artistically representation like we saw with Inception and The Matrix, not that deep level of thinking, but there's a lot of layers to kind of keep up with it. And I guess that brings me to the next point is kind of the combination of a story element and the character development elements. For the characters, there's a little bit of stretching in terms of how fast they either progress or some of these character quirks and storylines we wanted to see that didn't quite flesh out. Seems the movie had a little bit of a challenge trying to kind of connect all these deep interlocking webs and diving deeper into some of those character stories. In addition, this big thing was I thought it was going to be with the terrorism thing being added in, kind of one of the selling points of the movie. They kind of really dropped the ball on that for me. I was actually, after about the 15 minutes, you might be expecting someone to effectively really harbor on this atmosphere and kind of combine the two worlds into a new war. But that story element was kind of dropped faster than I anticipated. In addition, some of the other story components were either not fleshed out or dropped again. Again, this I think has to do with the convoluted inner complex weave and of the web of lies, deceit, and lots of characters moving in this one confined storyline. Again, have fun with it. Really enjoy that component, but just warrant that not everything is as fleshed out as I felt as the first one was because of how deep the rabbit hole of deception went. Finally, my biggest thing is I wanted more action. Surprise, right? The action junkie wants more fights and gung-ho. Movie magic would have worked with that, maybe extended the fight scenes a little bit because these are very short-lived sequences that lack that movie magic flair that I like to see in terms of choreographed battles and special effects blazing with a great orchestra or some type of soundtrack to go with it. Again, Sicario is a lot more realistic than I was anticipating, so as a result, the fights kind of probably feel like how a military skirmish can potentially be. Very short bouts as opposed to half an hour bloodbaths of guns, bullets, and whatever else can rain down. So overall, Sicario 2 is a solid sequel. Gotta give it up for what my friend RJ at the movie theater said, is that it is a good movie in terms of a good follow-up. There's edge, there's excitement, there's the fact that you got this great character-centric story that you can continue on and see where the next phase of it goes, including where it can potentially go should this make enough money and warrant yet a third movie, which of course I'm thinking it is since Hollywood's having some struggles with breaking out of the sequel mold. Anyway, if you're looking for kind of that deeper crime drama, and if you're really, really looking to wanting to keep on with the series, and this is definitely a movie to check out in regards to the movie theaters. However, if you're looking for something exciting, something you don't have to pay attention to or want to pay attention to in pieces because it is a long movie with a slow pace, by far, hold off on this one because there's a lot of blockbusters coming. Because Sicario 2 is not the exciting turnabout ride in the traditional sense of bing, bang, boom and excitement. It is all about really investing in these characters and their stories and seeing what happens with a nice little drug cartel side to unite them all. Anyways, guys, that's kind of it for the new movies this week. We are going to get a little surprise in the fact that my next movie, The Purge, the first Purge, is coming up in the middle of the week instead of the end of the week, and Ant-Man and Wasp will finish us off for that week as well. Previews are expected to come, hopefully one tomorrow and one Sunday to get them over with, and we're really working on a couple of other topics that we're going to hopefully bring in and help you guys out. Anyway, this is Robbie K signing off for now. Thanks for watching. Please share, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.